So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Karen Baker, who's the managing director at Big City Print. So, firstly, Karen, thank you and welcome. Thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Big City Print, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Sure, thanks for having me. So Big City Print is a label manufacturing business, set up in 2011 by my husband and his business partner. I joined the business when it was around 3 years old. We were turning over at that point, I think, just under 300,000. So in the last, 10 years that I've been there, with 10 times that turnover.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's been a bit of a journey, but yeah, so Big City Print, we manufacture self-adhesive labels. We sell predominantly to the trade industry, so people that, merchants buy, sell on. But we also sell to a few end users. So where we like really target ourselves, and I think we do a good job of it, is for trade customers who are potentially buying in bulk or we're doing direct deliveries for them, all of our packaging is white labeled. So we use their delivery notes. Everything looks like it comes directly from them. So we're sort of doing like a great service for them, and their customers are none the wiser it comes directly from us.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, anyone looking, so what makes a perfect client for you? Who are the people you serve best, would you say?
I would say who we're really, really set up for are those trade customers because we haven't got a huge sales team. We've got one salesperson who's been with us for 7 years. We've just taken on a secondary salesperson. And so, we've not got people that are all over the country able to go into multiple different businesses. So, a trade customer for us is perfect because they might have 8 reps out on the road that are buying and selling labels. So we are really good at building relationships with those all those 8 salespeople, and building that trust. And it's almost like you've got 8 salespeople. If you build the right relationship with them, you've got another 8 salespeople there, 3 there. In those trade accounts. I know you make a little bit less margin, but the volume of work is there as well.
Yes, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so if say looking backwards to start with, and you've touched this a little bit, but if you talk to us a little bit about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one for you.
Yeah, so my background is sales, and I used to work for a guy called Greg Almond, who I still to this day don't think he knows what an impact he had on my life. So I always worked in an office, and I loved the idea of sales. I used to support the sales reps inside an office for a company called Amcor Flexibles. They made bread bags.
Right?
And I used to see the salespeople and I used to thought, I can do that. I was only about 22 at the time, and I used to think, I can do that. I know I can. And then a company called One Packaging supplied all the packaging to Amcor Flexibles where I worked. And as a rep there left, our warehouse manager recommended me for her job.
Brilliant.
So I went in for an interview, and I think Greg at the time was looking for someone maybe with a little bit of experience, but I sat there and I really sold myself to him about how much I wanted it and how much I'd worked so hard to prove that I was like worth the job. And he hired me.
Brilliant.
I think I was 23 years old, first sales job, and I went from a KA to a BMW, and I just felt like I'd made it.
Ah, wonderful. Ah,
And yeah, it was brilliant. And I worked for him maybe for 2 or 3 years, but Big City Print was a very young company at that point, but they ended up one of my customers because I needed to source some labels. And as I went in, I thought, oh, they buy packaging. So they ended up a customer of mine and a supplier of mine. And that's where I met my husband.
brilliant.
So yeah. And then
Brilliant.
as we sort of became a couple, I was just constantly getting involved in his business, saying, why aren't you doing this? You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You need this procedure, So he hired me um, as a sales rep initially, but very, very quickly, I think within 6 months, I said, you don't need a salesperson right now. You need someone to like run your business for you. So,
Brilliant.
boom, that's how it happened.
Rest is history, as they
The
say.
rest
That's
is history,
wonderful.
yeah. I
Growing up, is this what you foresaw for yourself, or do you have other?
think I always knew that I wanted to do something in sales, like customer focus, because from a young age, so my stepmom had a like a market store where we sold greetings cards and things, and I think I worked from there on there when I was probably about 10, 11 years old. And I loved it. I loved like chatting to the customers, having a bit of banter, you're dealing with the money and
Brilliant.
getting some wages at the end of it. And then I worked at a company, a pub, sorry, around the corner from where I live now, called the Woodlark, from being 13 years old. And I'll just quickly tell you this story. I remember my dad, we were pulling up outside. I was only 13, pulled up outside, and I looked at him and he said, go on then. And I was like, well, aren't you coming in with me? He said, I don't want a job. You want a job.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
I was like, oh, okay. So I went in and there was a chef there, Dougie, and he was great actually. Like by the end of it, I had a really, really good banter going with him. And I was only going for a pot washer job. But I think within a year of me working there, I'd hired all my friends. I was um I was waitressing, and I weren't allowed to be at the bar, obviously, but I was waitressing,
Yes.
hired all my friends, and it was some of the best years of my life. But
Brilliant.
what I really learned from that place was I was dealing with, because it was a really like quite a posh little pub. Um, I was building relationships with like CEOs. That's where they drank.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was building
Yes.
relationships with business owners, and I would constantly stand behind the bar when I was a bit older and say, "So what do you do then? What do you do for a living?"
Brilliant.
And I just thought, I feel like I'm dealing with all these business owners, and I feel really comfortable doing it behind a bar. So I might as well go and sell to them. So that's when I knew I wanted to get into sales.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
Fabulous. What a great story. And
yeah,
obviously you got into sales into this business and in its sort of third year of operation. Growing
yeah.
10 times, that's incredible over that period. And looking back on that, what are some of the biggest challenges and issues you've had to overcome?
Oh, by far my biggest challenge is learning to manage staff.
Right.
As someone who like always wanted to get into sales when I was younger, the aim of a salesperson is to get someone to like you and want to buy from you and trust you, isn't it?
Yes.
So I from going from wanting to be in sales, sort of being thrown into managing staff, that has definitely been my biggest challenge.
Right.
And just managing those kind of relationships, because they're completely different, aren't they? Kind of relationship, customer supplier and employees, because you just get all other exterior factors that sort of come into someone working for you or with you or whatever. So yeah, managing staff by definitely my hardest challenge, but not doing too bad at it now, I hope.
No, no.
But I definitely at first, I used to think, oh, this is terrifying. Just bringing up an issue with someone, how they'd maybe done something wrong at first, and how maybe this would be a better way of doing it, terrified me.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because sales, we want to try and make friends with the people
Yeah,
that we want to buy from us, and that is a part of management. But it can get, if it goes too far, then we become ineffective in holding people accountable if we
100%.
just their
Yeah,
friends.
yeah, yeah. And one of the best things you ever told me actually was to read that 1 Minute Manager book.
Brilliant.
Made such a difference just in how I think about things, because I just thought it's so true. Like people just need to know what is expected from them and
Yes.
that you trust them to get on with the job. And that is how I manage now through the conversations that we've had. And it is a big change, you know.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And
Yeah.
it always comes to mind. I have sort of leadership. I guess we all have leadership heroes or people that I really respect. And there's a guy called Sir Ernest Shackleton who was an Arctic explorer, and his story of what he achieved was quite incredible in terms of saving all his men's lives in an Arctic exploration. But one thing was really clear. One of his principles was he would always, if something needed to be done and there was an urgency and importance, he would always roll his sleeves up and help the men do that thing.
Yeah.
But he also, at dinner, the officers always sat on a different table. And
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
always had that little bit of an air gap that said, look, I'm part of the team. I will help and support if absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But I am also different. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think there's an element that's quite important, isn't it? When not to have, you've got to sort of break that boundary of friendship that's too
Oh,
big.
yeah. And I think what I found over the years is that I am a real, like, I like people to feel supported and
Yes.
I like people to succeed and I like to help people. And I actually think that over the years that has been a hindrance to me, because I've, if feel like someone's struggling, and not that I'll go over and do the work for them,
Yeah.
but I will do the work for them whilst they're watching me do it.
Yes.
And it sort of becomes like you are end up doing the job, aren't
Yeah.
you? You know.
That, that's the danger, isn't it?
Yeah, and you become people's sort of comfort blanket, I think, really, and that is definitely what's happened over the years, where people have just thought, "Oh, Karen's here. Karen, can I just check? Can I just check? Can I just check?" You know, so just having that and having the conversation with that actual member of staff and say, when you say that, I'm going to say, "What have you tried first?" or "What do you think?" or "Have you written the
Right.
email?" You know, I trust you
Right.
to send that email.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And what would you say, again, would you say your biggest learnings about growing a business? What have you learned so far about that process?
Oh, well, I think for the first 5 years, I've been at Big City Group for 10 years now. So I think for the first 5 years, I was fumbling through, like I'd obviously never ran a business before, but I think one thing I have always been very good at is finding even if I don't know the right person to ask the question to, finding the right person to ask the
Yes.
question to, whether it's the accountant or whether it's the supplier, just not feeling stupid to ask the question.
Brilliant.
That is how I've probably learned so much knowledge over the past 10 years.
Brilliant.
Um, but yeah, I think it changes. It really does change. Like how I felt only 6 months ago is probably different to how I feel about running a business now. And I think probably in another year's time, I'll feel completely different again in terms what the different
Yes.
challenges are. So I
Yep.
definitely feel like staff at the beginning was such a challenge for me to overcome.
Yep.
I found that really difficult. Whereas now I feel very confident in what I'm saying to people is right for me, right for the business, and right for them. Like I care for all of those people involved, all of those things
Yep.
involved. Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I know you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. Obviously, we do work together. But who I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the most impact? Obviously, you mentioned somebody earlier.
Um, yeah, I mean, coaching wise, you by far.
Thank you. I wasn't looking for that compliment, but I appreciate it.
You have though, just I think just like it's not just business coaching with you, is it? Like we talk about life, the world, and everything. And I think for me, it's really changed the way that I think of a lot of things in my life. And like, I think I've done loads of personal development, just not just about work, about all different aspects of my life since we started speaking. But it's probably who had quite a big impact on my life, other than my parents. My parents have been amazing. Is Greg Almond, who owned a company called One Packaging that I first got my first sales job in.
Brilliant.
He was just, and you know what? He lives in the village that I live in now. I do get to see him
Oh,
sometimes.
wonderful.
It's lovely. Yeah, him and my husband Ross are quite good friends.
Brilliant.
So and still to this day, like sometimes when I bump into him, he'll say, "Oh, he said it the other week. Karen's really successful," and sometimes I think I just don't think he knows the impact that he had on my life. I only worked for him for maybe 2 or 3 years, but just like watching him run the business and how open he was about
Yeah.
things, and I would ask questions as I do, and he would like really explain them to me and why we hold that kind of stock and why age stock is important to keep on top of, and all these things that he taught me. I think he just thought I was one of his employees, but I learned so much from him.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's so nice that you've still got a relationship,
Yeah.
post that
I'll
time.
tell him one day.
No, I did. Yeah, I mean, please do. I think, I would imagine it would have quite a profound impact to know
Yeah.
that he's helped you. He's helped you as much as clearly he has.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
that's wonderful. And whether it's from him or it, have you got any favourite quotes or sayings of about business or success in general that you catch yourself using quite a lot?
Oh, one of my favourite quotes of all time, I say it quite a lot to me and Ross, is remember when you wanted what you currently have.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Got it in
like
my
that.
downstairs. Well, I've had it in my downstairs loo. I'm having my house done up at the minute, but so usually it's in my downstairs loo. But yeah, because I look back to 10 years ago when me and Ross first got together, and we were living in our little two-bedroom semi-detached, and we were doing it up to sell to buy like our dream family home together. And we got the dream family home and we did it up and we sold it and we moved to our next dream family, so I think we really you almost
Brilliant.
end up taking for granted the position that you're in today,
Yes.
whereas if your 5-10 year ago self could look at where you are right now, I think they'd be like, oh my god, wow, really. So yeah, just savouring every moment. Even I've got 3 kids, as you know, so even in the chaos of life, I think it's just sort of like realising where you are in life, isn't it?
Yeah, and celebrating.
Yeah,
I found, I do find, especially with entrepreneurial people, that we tend to be looking at what we have yet to achieve rather than we have.
absolutely. All the time. I'm writing the next goals. The next goal is where I want to be next, what I want to be doing next. And I think, yeah, sometimes it's really important to sort of pat yourself on the back and say you've done a good job, isn't it?
100%. So just give
Yeah.
us that quote again because I love it, and I just want to. So
Remember when you wanted what you currently have.
brilliant. Remember what you want to what you currently have. Right, I remember that one because that's really valuable.
I'll send you a
Absolutely.
picture of my the picture that I've got on my wall in my downstairs, Lou. You will like it.
Please do. I think it's brilliant, and it's a great one of yeah. We've achieved the goals we've set. Now, yeah,
Absolutely.
we may well have more
Yeah.
goals to achieve.
Sometimes, Chris, overachieved. Like I don't even know if I'd written down some of the goals that we've achieved.
Yep.
Because
No,
they were probably out of sight 10 years ago when I bought my first house. So, and to think where we could be in 10 years' time, you just don't know, do you?
no, no. And and the challenge, there is a challenge to this in that, you know, if we're not enjoying it, if we're not celebrating it, then
Yeah,
we tend to become dissatisfied if we're not careful, rather than be satisfied with where we are, but strive for the next step. And
yeah.
that's great. But being happy about where we are is fabulous. And obviously that's a lovely quote. And do you have any favorite books on business or success or personal development in general?
Do you know what? I've not been a big book reader before now. One of my 2025 goals was to read one book a month.
Brilliant,
So I've read so I've read one and a half so far.
brilliant. Yeah.
But yeah, no, do you know what? I haven't got a favourite book. I'm a really, really, really big fan of Stephen Bartlett.
Yes,
So I've just bought his Diary of a CEO, but I listen to a lot of his podcasts, and
great.
they do really, really change the way that you think. Think about if you listen to people's stories and like how they've got to where they've got, and I think it does really change the way that you think because
Yeah.
you know I might be successful to some person, but someone else is my success story, aren't
Yes,
they? And you sort of everyone's got someone to look up to.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm constantly looking for people to look up to.
Brilliant. And
Yeah.
there's a great a quote from Stephen Bartlett that I really like, and because I know he said he loves imposter syndrome.
Oh
He,
yeah, I get that.
he says I love imposter syndrome because it means I'm in the right room.
Yes.
So there's people to learn from rather than I think that relates to. I'm trying to think of the quote was from. There's another quote that says if you're the most what was it? I think if you're the most important person in the room, then you're in the wrong
You're
room.
in the wrong room. Yeah, I've read that before. Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember who said that, but I like that one too. So speaking of learnings, what have you learned about yourself and your journey so far?
Oh gosh, do you know what? I've learned a lot about myself in the last couple of years, I would say. I think in the last 10 years, I think never underestimate what you can achieve. Not for 1 minute 10 years ago did I think that I would be running two businesses, one that turns over 2.7 million and one that turns over a million,
Brilliant,
nearly 4 million between two businesses. Never in a million years would I thought that I would be doing that. So never underestimate what you can do,
brilliant.
definitely. But in the last couple of years, I think I've realised that I put so much energy into other people, which is a really good quality to have, and,
Yep.
and I'm aware that that is a great quality to have. But I also need to put a lot of energy into myself,
Yes.
and that's why I think over the last couple of years I've been setting those goals where I want to put myself into more of those rooms where I feel like I've got a lot of people to look up to,
Yep.
because yeah, it's it's I think about growing yourself as well as others, because I think my focus has been so long on growing other people, and making sure people feel happy in a job and that they've got all the support, and not just job. I support a lot of people outside of work as well,
Yes,
but I'd like to focus on myself more.
brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. And looking forward, what does the future look like alongside this? But what's the future look like for the business and yourself?
So the business, as you know, we've just taken on a new sales guy, Nick,
Yep,
and I think that should be really great for the business once he's, found his feet. So I think the business will see some good growth over the next sort of 2 or 3 years. Um, Whether we keep it or sell it, who knows? I don't know what the future will hold. I don't think we've thought that far ahead just
yep,
yet. I think we're focusing on growing the sales, growing the profit, growing, all of our processes and procedures, make sure it's running really well. Then, we've got the packaging side as well that we will always try and well, it sort of runs alongside it. A lot of customers that buy labels buy packaging as
right,
well, so you tend to
yep,
bring on a customer on both sides.
yep,
But so no, I don't. Do you know what? Really good question, Chris. Maybe I should have been prepared for that one. I don't know where it will be in 3 years' time. I hope it will be in a position where it doesn't need us.
yep,
We've got
yep.
all the right people in the right places, and we can either, take a bit of a backseat in the business and focus on other things in our life, or sell it.
Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. So yeah, so many opportunities.
Many opportunities. Don't know
Uh,
what the exit is just yet, so we'll enjoy the journey.
The journey, as long as you enjoyed it,
Yes.
that I think that's the great thing, and
Yeah.
that's really cool. And I'm keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now.
Oh, someone going into business. I think I would firstly, I think I would say surround yourself with people that you like and trust.
Yep,
If you're going to employ people, employ the right people, and that I think that can be difficult. I've hired like family before in the past, and it can get messy, can't it?
yep,
So I think surrounding yourself with the right people, um, don't burn yourself out.
yep,
I think right in the beginning, I thought if I just work all day at work and work all night when I get home on my laptop, we'll be successful. And that's not the case, is it? I've given up maternity. My first maternity leave was 11 weeks. So, I've I think you've got to enjoy it and focus on the things that grow your business.
yep.
You're just a very, very expensive admin person if you end up doing everything, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely.
So focus on get those people in the right places and focus on the business, working on the business, not in the business.
Uh, Bang on. No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you can get to a certain level of success with just hard work, but ultimately, if hard work is the only thing we do, we ru-
Yeah,
we run out of that ability. Run out of time. We can only
of
give,
course you do. Of
and
course you do.
therefore that becomes the
And if
limit.
you're and if you're putting all the orders on, doing all the quotes, dealing with all the customers, it's not sustainable, is it?
No, no, absolutely. And
Yeah.
and if you started again, is there anything significant you do differently? Do you think?
Oh, I don't know because then we wouldn't be where we are today, would we? But
No,
so catch 22. But yeah, I think there is. I think there are like certain moments in time where I've thought, you know, that wasn't a great idea. But actually, no, I'm gonna say no, Chris. I wouldn't do anything differently because some of our best processes and procedures have come out of mistakes that we've made.
brilliant. Yeah,
So some of the best things, I mean, I try and call them valuable mistakes rather than expensive mistakes.
great, great.
But some of the when we had a customer that we gave credit to and it all went wrong, we've now got an airtight credit checking system, and
Brilliant.
we're really strict on pro forma first order depending on the customer. So we've got like all those things that are in place are because that was really, really stressful,
Yeah.
and actually it wasn't that big, but at the time because we were a lot smaller it felt massive to us.
Yes.
So no, I don't think I would have done anything different. I think I think maybe uh, me looking at managing the business a lot quicker rather than dealing with customers and quotes. taking that back step and being able to grow the business is probably
Yeah,
would have been better for me to do 5 years ago.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And finally, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that?
Oh, many things.
Brilliant.
Do you know what? I think I would tell myself to invest in myself more.
Great.
Invest in my education and learning, and that doesn't need to be paid education or learning. It can be reading books and watching podcasts and, just yeah, just investing in myself a little bit more. And I think I obviously think very, very differently now to how I did when I was 18, especially about money and investing and things like that.
Yes.
So when you're 18 years old, you're just thinking, when can I spend this money? When can I go out with all my friends? Whereas I think again, I wouldn't change anything, but if I knew what I knew now at 18 years old, I'd be in a very different position, wouldn't I? So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's we all would.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that'd be interesting to. I'm not totally sure where I'd be.
My first ever when I got my first sales job at 23, my goal was to buy myself a designer handbag with my first commission.
Brilliant.
That would not be my goal now on what I spend my money on.
No,
So that's 12 years ago. So like, not that it was a waste. It was probably something I wanted to tick off my list, wasn't it? But yeah, it wouldn't be what I intend to spend money on nowadays.
no. Well, I guess it also shows that your goals have changed.
Your goals change all the time. Yeah. And my goals
Well,
today are probably going to be very different to what they are in 5 years, I
yeah,
guess, won't they?
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, thank you. It's been delightful speaking. And thanks for being so open about some of the things that you've learned and you've achieved. And for anyone that's watching would like to get in touch with you or Big City Print, what would be the best way to do that?
So they can get in touch with me probably by email or my phone. If they drop me an email, karen.baker@bigcityprint.co.uk.
Brilliant.
I can come back with my number, and I would love a call with anyone.
Brilliant. Well, look, it'd be
Yes.
great to swing by in another 6 to 12 months and just see the next stages of what's going on
Yeah,
and develop it.
definitely.
But,
I'll
but for
watch
now,
this one back before we do the next one. It'll be interesting to watch.
yeah, that'd be great. No, I look forward
Yeah.
to that. But for now, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Cheers.